Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 in painting with Luminaire Air Dry Paints. Just before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that was new to this video what's going on. So we're working with the Luminaire Air Dry Paints, and we're up to part 3. So if you'd like to have a look at what we're doing, you could look above. You'll see the sign for part 1 of Luminaire Air Dry Paints, and then also now in part 2. And then you can come back to part 3 and watch us and get what you need. Okay, thanks. Now let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to part 3. Congratulations on getting this far. I'm so glad you're still with me and everything's going great. I've had so many customers along the way purchasing the paints due to watching this video and everyone being really excited. So thank you for sticking with me and going with it. So I just thought I would tell you what you've got left in part 3. So part 3, we're now going to do the creases. Then we're going to do a blush tone, which is like a blush on the cheeks and the bottom of the feet. Then we're going to do another flesh layer all over that. And then we're going to do the eyebrows. And then we're going to seal it. So that after you've done that, your baby will be complete. Complete in the way of the Luminaire instructions that they give you, which are really great. And then you can choose whether you want to go on to part 4. Part 4 will be where I add my little touches to little Danny to get him the way I want him to look. So you can do that as well, or you can just stick with the end of part 3. So I just thought I'd show you how little Danny's going. He's looking really cute. I'm really loving the way he looks. You can see all the tones in his skin there. It's all showing out. And after we do the creases and then, you know, a bit of blushing on the cheeks, that'll shine out even more. Okay, so let's get started with the blushing. So we need to have berry blush tone. Yep. And we need to have the blue vein tone. So what we're going with the berry blush tone, let's just get a brush of that. I'm not going to use my big brush because I'm going to use that next, but I'm going to just use my lip brush. We don't need a lot of this, remember. So I'm just going to put some of that in there. I've literally put that on the side at the moment. And then I am going to put in some vein blue. So just a hint, okay, just a hint. So I'm just going to get the tip of my brush there and see if that will be enough. So just mix it in with your berry blush tone. We just want a little bit of a plummy sort of color, okay? You've got to think if you add too much blue, then it's going to get too blue. And our creases are not blue. So just stick with that. Now, what I'm going to do is I've got my very thin brush. We don't necessarily need to add any water to this unless you think you need it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do the test with it just as it is. Remember, this is going to dry quickly too, so you don't want to muck around too much. And let's just go straight. I'm going to go straight into the crease of his eyes. And across. So that's really good. You can see that it's given that definition and make his eye really pop. So once we've done that, you'll need to get a bigger brush, probably more of a Maxine's mop than this one, but this one will still do the trick. And so we need to feather. Feather's sort of like going like that with your brush. Perfect. Look at that. You can see on his eye there that it's definitely more refined, so we can see it. So let's do the other eye. So when you're doing the creases, you're doing every crease you can see on that baby. So as you can see, he's got those two little creases above his eyes. So I'll do him with that. any crease you can see. If you find your paint's getting too dry, just add only a single drop. So you can see where I've painted there in those lines, and just feather. If it doesn't seem to feather, like blend in a little bit, then you can you can get your cosmetic wedge and you can wipe over it like that. Or you might find you just need that little bit of water. So that's going well. I think I need a dab of water. Now that could be simply because of the humidity where I am. Okay? I just don't want it to dry on my palette or my little bowl. I don't want it to dry too quickly as well. But like I said, that could be simply where I am. Everyone's different. So keep going in those creases. See, I've just done under the eyes there. Do around the edge of the nose. I'm going to bring this screen in a little bit closer so you can get more of an up-close look at where I'm painting. So the edges of the nose there. Anywhere you see a crease. This is a great time that if you haven't opened the nose to paint this colour in the nose. I still do it even a little bit. It just helps with that depth. There's a little line under the mouth there. There's a line in the bridge of the nose. Now, I don't want that to dry too quickly, so I'm going to feather all those marks that I've done. Ooh, great. Okay, so I'll even go in these lines under here. I'll go in the lines of the ear and then just feather out. Then I'll go with the hands. The hands, you do every little line. So as you can see on the little knuckles there, there's some lines. So simply just paint over those lines. And now, as you can see those lines on those knuckles when before they were hard to see. So that'll really bring that out. Okay, so go ahead, do all of your creases on the whole baby and let it sit for 20 minutes and then come back and we will do the thin blushing, the blushing on the feet and wrists, or hands and cheeks. Okay, so see you in a minute. Okay, so how did your creases go? I'm very happy with mine. You can see that Danny is like he has a lot more character now to him, including his hands. You can see all where the creases are like that now, and like his little feet. You can see the creases and everything's more highlighted, which is basically what you want. So now we're going to work on those highlights of the cheeks and the palms of the hands and the feet, anywhere you think that needs to be a little bit more pinkish, a little bit more defined in that section. So we use the blushing cheek color. So get your little bowl, screw that down a little, and we're just going to thin as we usually would. So I'm going to take a swipe of either side of that. Should be enough. We don't need to make a heap because we're only just doing those features. So once again, I don't want to thin it too much. I'm really personally finding that I don't need to thin it too much. It just seems to come across better. So what I'm going to do is put 3 drops of water in, and I'm thinking that's going to be enough. See that? I think I'm actually even going to get another swipe of my cheek colour, because I do want to highlight all those features. So just like that. So when you're adding this particular feature now, you can use anything. You can use the Maxine mop brush, you can just use a normal brush, you can use your wedge, which I would still recommend to rip that edge off. You can use your sea sponge, anything you would like, even the bottle gourd. I'm going to personally just try to get my brush at this stage, and I'm going to try just to tip it on. When I do my cheek color, I like to do kind of, as you can see there, like a teardrop. So if you can picture my cheeks, right, like a kind of teardrop, or even like an inverted comma. So going rounder here up to a thin point, that kind of thing. You've just got to imagine how your cheeks are, how you'd like baby to look. So of course we don't want to leave it all so it looks like there's absolute paint on there. So I still recommend an application of a sponge or something similar. That didn't work the way I wanted it. Okay. Doesn't always work right. So I'm just going to pounce that in. So you should be able to see that there. It needs to be pounced in, but still with not looking like someone's just put some paint there. It needs to look like it's kind of blended, especially on the edges. Just blend around. So there you can see it's a little bit peachier or pinker in the cheek there. So I'll do the other side as well. So for this color, like I suggest your cheeks, your chin, the baby's chin I should say, the middle of the head here is a good spot, and then on the wrists of the hands and the feet, the soles of the feet. I also recommend up in this part of the nose here, or top cheek area, just like a little kind of triangle there. And obviously we need some on the end of the nose. Because baby normally has a little bit of a pinker nose. But we don't want it to look, no, I don't know if you can see that properly, but we don't want it to look, like I said, like someone's just put a bit of pink paint on the nose there. So keep blending that in. And as I've said before, you don't have to just stop at this layer of blushing. After you've done this layer, you can go ahead and do another layer. I'm going to do some around the tops of the ears, like this part up here. And also, even before it's dried, we can still add some on to the areas. We put that, even sometimes a little bit over the eyelid, which I will do. There's a lot of little features on a baby. Oh, also the temples. When I'm doing any of my babies, I normally put a little bit of paint on their temples. Just as I said, they're feature points. We want to highlight those feature points. So when you put your paint, wherever you've put it, just blend it in. So remember, I've put on the cheeks here, so around the round part there, and then I add a little triangle here, on the end of the nose, on the chin, middle of the forehead, temples, and the tops of the ears. So it's just a little feature. Okay, so that's with the face. And like I said, you can go back and put more on if you feel. So then with the hands, it'll be just on this part of the hand. So just pop that in there like that. A little bit up on the fingers. Another positive point on the baby is the elbow. And I also do on the top of the hand. So I'll leave that set for a minute. I'll go and do the other hand. And we'll come back and pounce that out. Just remember, you don't want it to look like you've just got your paintbrush and painted on it. If it looks like that, get your cosmetic wedge and pounce it out. Okay, and the same with the feet. Just come along. Now when you're doing the feet, you want to highlight the toes, the tops of the bottoms of the toes, and the round part of the foot. So this part here, where my finger is covering, you want to leave blank. So as you can see, if I was to stick that foot in ink right now and pop it on paper, you would see a perfect little footprint without this little bit there, like that. So that's how you want to do it. Okay, now that, so I've just done that, I will pounce that out again with the sponge in a minute. So I also like to do just the top of the foot, side of the ankle, and the knee. So like once again, once you've done that, pounce it out, blend it in. Okay, so away you go again. Don't forget, as I've always said, any questions, pop them in the comments below and I can answer them. Up next we'll do a full flesh tone over the whole entire kit. Then we'll do the eyebrows. We'll also do the nail tips at that time, and then we'll be sealing it all. Okay, so come back for that. Thanks. Okay, so as you know, we're up to pretty much, well, it's almost one of the last layers. We're going to be doing the flesh tone layer. After we do this one, we're going to do the eyebrows and the nail tips, and then it's the sealant, and then you're pretty much done. So let's get started with that. So I'll just grab my water. So with this one, it's using light flesh and also using medium flesh. So I want an extra bit of colour of this, so I'm going to not be adding a lot of water. Oops. So I've got my brush, and I'm going to add 2 sides of it. So one side and the second side. So I'll just pop that in there. I'm going to add about 4 drops of water. I don't want anything major at the moment. I'm going to see how that goes. I found my first layers to be like a little bit thin, so that's why I'm making these end layers a little bit thicker. And as you can see, Danny has really taken on a look of his own now. He's looking really great. So I just want to like give him that top coat of flesh, and I think he'll be like perfect. Okay, so the medium flesh now, I'm going to do the same. Okay. Now, of course, that's not really a lot, as you can see there. So I am going to add a little bit more water, but I really don't want a lot. I want to get that skin, like the layer over the top. So I just added 2 more drips of the water. And there, can you see that all in the edges there? Now I'll probably add another one side of each colour. Now I thought I should mention to people who have got my Luminaire Air Dry Paints. As you can see, the little jar that I have here. Now, as you can see, I haven't used much of that paint. It's about half full. And that is because this is the 0.25 ounce jar. Now, you will know, or some people will know, that my jars vary. Some people might get the pop top little jars. Now that is just what the major supplier can get in stock at the time to put her paints in. But I wanted to rest assure everyone that every single jar has the right weight of paint in, whether it be a larger jar that has a small amount in or the small jar that is filled to the brim. So just to make sure everyone knows that. Okay, so now I am going to actually put it on my wedge. I'm going to put it directly onto my wedge. And I'm going to pounce over. Now you should see by the way it comes out to how it's looking. Now you might see just on that edge there, it's got quite a grainy look. We don't want it to look like there's paint as such sitting there. So that to me means my paint there is too thick. So I'm going to add in another couple of drips. Remember, by now you should be getting a real feel of how your paint works for your humidity, your area, and you'll also be able to see how it's coming onto your kit. So you will be starting to know what's best. You'll be able to see it. Okay, so when you've got it to the right consistency, just pounce it on. That's if you're using the cosmetic wedge. You might be choosing to do a different application, but still the outcome is very similar. You'll be doing a lot of pouncing. Okay, so I'm going to pounce that over his whole head, his limbs, and then that will be done. So after that, we're going to come back, we're going to do the eyebrows, my little Danny, and your baby, and we're going to do the nail tips, and then be the sealant, and that'll be the end of part 3. Okay, so I'll see you back in a minute to do the eyebrows and nails. Okay, so let's get to the eyebrows. So here is little baby Danny. You might be able to see him better in this light. He's going very well. His lips are very just pale there. I probably will be adding a little bit more in the layer when I do the stage 4, but it is very like that nice soft peaches and cream sort of look to him, so it is quite nice still. So anyway, we're going to do the eyebrows. So this little boy is going to have blonde hair, so I'm going to stick with mainly the blonde. I'll just show you that. Okay, and with the eyebrow set, you'll get, which you'll normally get with your master set anyway, you'll get the dimensional eyebrow gel, you'll get the Mars black, and you'll get burnt umber. So I will also use a little bit of burnt umber, because if you use like more than one shade as well as more than one length of eyebrow, you're going to give it that kind of dimension that you want. So I need you to have your very thin script liner brush, but also what's really great is just a toothpick. Really good. Okay, so once again, so I might mix it up just with this. So I just want the littlest bit of water again. I'm just going to put a drop in. This is something that we need to get on directly. We need to get it not to be too thin. If it's too thin, it's not going to be able to be seen. Okay, so you can see there that I've just mixed a little bit of water, like a drop of water with that. So then when you're applying the eyebrows, you've just got to go onto the top broad edge of the eyebrows. So on Danny, you'll see it's just about here. And then you just start at the middle and work your way out to the end. Look at your own eyebrows. Gauge how yours are. You can do them thick, thin. There's no particular way. It is good, like I said before, to have different lengths. So if you can just see, I'm going to just lightly. And if it feels like it's going on too thick, you see that there? That might be a tad thick, but it's not too bad because it's blonde. I'm going to put some highlights of that burnt umber over the top. So I'll just do a few lines of that. If you've got a nice fresh script liner, it's not going to go as thick as you can see his there. They're still thin, but you know, that's what I'm saying. So when you do the other eyebrow, just try very hard to get in the same position. There is ways of gauging it. You can use a little ruler. You can measure, even with the end of your paintbrush, you can say, okay, well, I started in that corner and it went for that long type of thing to get them the same length. Actually very cute already. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm happy with that. I'm going to get just a little bit of burnt umber and I'm going to mix it with one of my edges of blonde. I don't want it to be too dark yet. I just want a different highlighted definition. So you might be able to see there now, there is two shades. Now hopefully everyone can see all right. I've just got new lighting. I'm trying to get everyone to have a better view of what I'm doing. So it's all, once again, just like with reborning, it's all testing everything and how it works. But when I do these, I do them like live. I don't want to re-go and do it again. So I have to just work with what I'm going with. So now I'm going to try the toothpick. So I'm just going to poke the end in there. You can see, like, oh, can you see that? It is tiny. Maybe not. You can just see that I've got just a little bit on the end. So then I'm going to go over what I've already done. So can you see that there? You definitely can. So we don't want it to overbear it. That's why I left some plain blonde there, because if we're not too happy with it, we can go over it again. Okay, so I personally like my brush, but that is kind of a little bit because I'm addicted to my brushes, even though, like, they're well used. But I'm going to keep going with what I was doing, so still use the toothpick on the other side to keep it even. So great seeing them come to life. Now if you're a little bit nervous about this and you feel like you don't have a steady hand, try not to worry too much. Just take your time. A little bit more water will help it to not dry as fast, but then again we need it to be thicker so it will be viewable. But just try to take your time. It's the best way I can suggest to go for it. So I'm gonna use my brush again with that new color. I can just get the tip of my brush to work. It's not working, so it needs a little bit of water there. So may I highlight again, only use a drop, just a drop of water. Any more, it's gonna be too translucent. It won't show out. You won't get it to show out. Even that drop, look, that drop has made it too translucent. So as you can see there with the two colors, I know you can't really tell, but the darker one is a little bit too wet. So I'm just going to mix in some of my thicker blonde again, which will make it less watery. See if I can get that on. Yeah, that's good. And that's coming on with a bit of another tone again, another color. Okay, I'm just going to get a bit more of the burnt umber. Just trying to get it darker. Okay. So on again, just keep going. You can at least see that he has eyebrows there now. Another thing, if you're worried about eyebrows, is some people don't even use eyebrows. If you look at some babies, especially very blonde babies, sometimes you can't even see them. So it's nothing to worry about if you don't put them on. May I suggest you get a test limb or something and just work with it. Just try. Even if you've got an old dolly at home, just try to do those lines and test it before you do it on your actual proper kit. Don't be scared by it. Just try and try again. This is looking really great. So I can't really stop and go on to the next part yet, because otherwise this will dry and I'll come back and it'll be not what I want to do. So sorry if this is making this part of the video a little bit too long. As you can see, he's looking really great. I'm really happy with that. Really happy. Let's give him a little bit more on this end. What you want to do is try to keep them at around the same length and around the same thickness. So cute. So you see one side, it looks like it's coming to the center a little bit more than the other. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on that other side to make them look a little bit more even. Doesn't take long, my paint's starting to dry out again. And once again, that's a bit of a humidity thing. I've got, as you can imagine, I've got photography lights and that around me, so they are a bit warmer than generally outside. So there we go. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. What we do with the eyebrows now is we let them dry for the 20 minutes. And then after the 20 minutes, we're going to do the dimensional eyebrow gel over the top of that. So that'll be in a second. I'll leave little Danny, show you again because he's so cute, just to sit here. He can dry while I'm doing the nails. So, I need to wash my brush here. Just put some water in the edge there. Now don't be too afraid if something comes up and off you go and do your own thing and you come back and your paint's dry and your paint brushes are stiff. Now this one has been cleaned, but it'll still be stiff, but I can push it back, and once it's wet it just comes back to normal again. It is the beauty of working with water paints. So it won't wreck your brush, but it is best obviously to get in there and keep them nice and clean. Okay, so I'll just soak up that water there, some paper towel, so I can do the nails. Okay, so then you'll also have your nail white. Now the nail white is, as you can just maybe see there, is like a little bit of an off-white. Yeah, it looks kind of like an off-white creamy color. Okay, so let's get this happening. Once again, tiny drop of water, and that's only just to keep it a little bit moist in my humidity here with the lights and stuff. I'll just grab some. Okay, so I would be working, personally, I'll be working quickly. So it's just, sorry Danny fell on the ground. Put you there so you're nice and safe. And what I'm going to try to do is try to bring the screen closer, because it is just too hard for me to reach over. So we're just looking at the nails here, guys. Not me. Okay, so just so you can try to see what I'm doing, just on the edge. Very good, get this all perfect. Okay, I can't properly see the light because of how it's angled, so I'm hoping that everyone will be able to see it good. Okay, so we've got the nails here, and I'm just going to go along the edge. Can you see that? Just a single little nail tip. And again. So beautiful. Now we're going to do this. I have to tell you, it's easier obviously from your end if you're sitting here and the foot is facing you. Okay, so I'm hoping everyone can see those little nail tips there. They're looking really good. Okay, so we can go over the top if I feel. Okay, so 1 foot down. Okay, so now what you need to do is go and do all your nails on all your limbs, and then come back here and we'll do the dimensional gel on top of the eyebrows. Okay, I'll be a sec. Okay, so now for the dimensional eyebrow gel. It's just like if you've been used to heat set paints, it's kind of like the glazing gel. So basically what you do, get your brush straight in there, or your toothpick is good too, and just cover your brush, and then we just want to paint over the eyebrows. Now I'll do that with the toothpick too, so you can see that. I still prefer my little brush. Okay, and do the other side. Now you can, with the dimensional gel, you can, after we do this, you need to let it dry. And then you can, if you want, you can add some more paint if you feel you need some more eyebrows, and then do the gel over it again. Got a little bit too much there. Okay, that's just going to give it a bit of dimension. What I like, if I don't like something, I can just use the end of my nails to wipe it off that little bit. Okay, so there's how he's going. So now I've got to let that dimensional gel dry for the 20 minutes as well. So our next ones is we've got the lip and nail gloss, but before we do that, we need to secure it with the sealer, the shine reduction sealer. Before we use the shine reduction sealer, you need to let your kit dry for 72 hours. So what you've just done, your nails and your eyebrows and your dimensional gel, now it's time to let it dry for 72 hours. Then after the 72 hours, we're going to put the shine reduction sealer on it, and what that does, it's going to seal everything into place, ready for Bubs to get its hair or just be bald and go home. And after I've done that shine reduction is when I'm going to do the lip and nail gloss. I'll show you how some of the nails went there. You can see his little fingernails. They're really beautiful. So before I personally go to that process, I think I'm going to jump over to step 4, and then I'll come back to this. So you'll see the sealer as here's my finished product. So anyway, I hope everyone's going really well with that. Please don't forget to ask any questions you need to, just down the bottom in the comments, and I'll be pretty much back in 30 seconds to you for the sealer. So see you in a minute. Hi everyone, and welcome to the last part in sealing and finalizing your air dry painting on your Reborn baby. So today we do the sealer. It is very exciting. As I said in the last little bit, I was talking about that I was going to go ahead, finish my baby the way I wanted, and then I was going to do the sealer. But I didn't want you guys to wait that long. I know everyone's waiting on part 3. So I'm going to do a mock sealer today, and you can just watch me do that. And then I'll still do the other part, finish him off the way I want him, and I'll do a sealer in that video, so everyone will see in that will be part 4, but that's still a couple of weeks away yet. So anyway, let's start. So you have your kit, and I hope you have waited 72 hours for the paint from the last paint. Now this is really important. You need to wait the 72 hours. So I've waited the 72 hours, and now I'm going to get my sealer ready. So it is recommended that you do a test with your sealer before you use it directly on your baby. So for that, I suggest just underneath, and so what you'll do is you'll just apply it, and you'll get a feel of how it works. You'll get to feel of how thin and how thick it will go on, and it'll just give you that confidence to go ahead and put it on the actual paintwork that you have so lovingly put into it. So anyway, now we've got our shine reduction sealer here by Luminaire. Now I don't want you to shake this, so you just need to invert the container very gently, so like this. So shaking can induce bubbles that will form and will dry on your kit, or dry on the painted surface. So I suggest, and Luminaire suggests, it is best to apply your sealer with a cosmetic wedge. Okay, so you can do it with a paintbrush, but yeah, they recommend to do it with a cosmetic wedge. So after we've inverted it for a while, this is mixing it without causing bubbles. So we'll just do it a few more times. So what we want to do is we want to apply 1 to 3 thin coats, and rather than a thick coat. If you do a thick coat, what can happen, it can take longer to dry, and it might dry cloudy. So it's best not to that. It might also drip and sag during the application. So I'm just going to do this. Also, if you're using a brush, if you're doing it thick, it might be more inclined to show your brush strokes. So let's not do that. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm just going to open it. I haven't opened this yet, so I probably should have opened it first because it's kind of a little stuck. Give me a second and I'll go open it. Okay, so all's good. Here I am trying to open the lid like that, and it's just a little flip thing here. I totally forgot. Okay, so you'll have your little wedge. Put some of your sealer on that wedge and sort of rub it in so it's not really ooey and gooey and thick. You can see that. So I'm going to just do a test. So just, yep, that's going on great. So I recommend the wedge as well. So what you want to do is just they suggest, Luminaire suggests that that you don't work on a vertical angle, you work on a flat bench. So put your babies down and work on them. Okay, so go over with that first layer. If you think you've missed a spot, leave it, because once you leave an area, if you go back to where it's done, you go for the risk of dragging partially dry resin into your wet, which can dry cloudy. It can dry cloudy over your dark colors or anything, and so any areas that are missed, allow to dry and then reseal it. That can go with your other 1 to 3 sealing layers. Okay, just checking anything else that they're saying. So yeah, I do, Luminaire actually advise 1 to 2 very thin coats, but you can do 1 to 3. Once you've done this coat, let it dry, and I would let it dry 24 hours before doing the next coat. So that's actually looking really good. So to give you another mock look at how I would do it, I'm just going to clean this and close it. Always make sure you clean off any so it doesn't get stuck. Okay, so let's just say I put sealer on this cosmetic wedge, then just grab your kit like that and do, maybe start from the top, I think, and rub it down. Rub it down. Nice long strokes, okay? Rub it down. Rub it down. Okay? So you can obviously go back, put some more sealant on your sponge, but just keep going with it. When you get to the like places like the ears and the mouth, I'll do it like this, just sort of rub over it. Okay, rub over it the best you can. Try to get into those creases a little bit with your sponge, but don't be overly anal about it. Just keep rubbing it through. You'll find that once you do maybe the second layer, you'll go over those spots you missed. So just sort of even dab into those little gaps and then quickly wipe over them. Okay, so that's what I want you to do with the sealer. It's really easy, as long as it's done right. Just apply it thin. If you feel like it's getting thick, it shouldn't do that. If you've inverted it, you've put it onto your sponge, spread it out over your sponge. Don't leave it like a big glob there, and then wipe it onto your kit. It'll be great. It'll be fine. And okay, so once you've done that and you've done your 1 to 3 layers, if you need the third layer, go with the third layer, but yep, do that. Then we've got the lip and nail gloss. Another very, very simple, you can't mess this up kind of job. So get your lip brush. That will be like your flat brush with a very thin flat end on it, not the script liner that you do like your eyebrows and that with, just something that you would put like a lip gloss on or something. So just put this onto your little brush. You can even, depending on your mouth, you can even put a drop. Say you put a drop onto the mouth, and then you just spread it out with your lip and nail brush. Sorry, with your lip brush, spread it out. So put this lip and nail gloss over your baby's lips. You can put a little bit into each ear. It just gives that sort of wet look, like within the ears. You can put a little bit in the nostrils, and even a little bit sort of in the side of the eye here, or up in the eye here. Anywhere that you would think would have a wet look on a baby. So you don't need to put it in the nostrils if you don't want. It might just give that sort of realistic look, like the baby might have just been crying and it, you know, it's just had a bit of, you know, in its nose, and just that wet look. Okay, so you'll also go over your finger and toenails. Here's my little cuties. Okay, and then leave that to dry. Now that's a very easy process, but like I say, with anything that we've been doing in this video, just pop a message below if you have any questions and I'll answer them. I'll help you with it. Don't be scared. So congratulations once again. Don't forget my email. I'll just pop it below. It's we'll go Aussie Reborn Supplies at live.com.au. You can see it there below. Pop me an email. I'd love to see your babies. I really would. And I would love to, you know, even share them with some YouTubers from time to time. So anyway, if you feel, before you do that, if you feel that you want to give your baby a little bit more before you do the sealer, by all means add. You can add a little bit more blushing if you like. You can add a little bit more flesh if you like. Or like me, I'm going to do a little bit of a mottled skin tone. So I'm going to be using some other colours that are not in the master set. I'm going to be using like a pyrrole red and ultramarine blue, and I'm going to create a bit of a mottled effect with those colours. So you can also get those and add them to it. But yeah, make sure you do all that before you do the sealer. The sealer is absolute, well, second last before you gloss. Okay, so thank you for joining me. Have any questions, please ask me, and stay tuned for number 4, which is a bit more of the advanced look. And yeah, Danny's mum's definitely waiting for him to come home, so I've got to get on to that. I'm just waiting for those few extra paints to arrive. Okay, so thanks for watching. As always, chat soon.